Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Gaming Mix podcast, your official podcast from analogstickgaming.com. Of course, if you don't know me, my name is Jordan, one of the co-owners of Analog Stick Gaming, and to my right, as he often is, nearly always is Jeff Young, the founder of Analog Stick Gaming. How are you doing, Jeff?
It's cold.
It's
Yeah,
cold. I mean,
winter's finally
I'm,
showed up here.
I mean, isn't that Canada? Like, there's a bit of a stereotype outside of Canada
Yeah,
that Canada is always cold.
our winter has been kind of like pretty tame, but the last couple days it's just been like the roads were absolutely horrible yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's been snowing quite a bit and stuff, but our winter has been pretty tame. We've only had maybe like 1 or 2 days over the past winter that's been like really bad. And this is
Okay.
the next one of them. So it has been not good weather-wise.
Fair, fair. I mean, it's not been necessarily the best time for the games industry either, but we'll get into that very shortly, of course. However, I believe, as always, before we get into that, we have a little message from our friends at NordVPN, right?
Yeah, so the sale is still going on right now. You can get up to 73% off NordVPN, plus snag yourself an Amazon gift card as well. Right now, we're looking at about $4.29 Canadian per month. So you can check out your US pricing or wherever you are in the world to get a little bit of better deal. There's also a 30-day money back guarantee. However, if you stick with it and add renewal onto that, we see some money. So if you want to support Analog Stick Gaming, that is the best way to do it. And you can go to nordvpn.com/analog stick gaming to help protect yourself on the internet today.
And I also just want to add to that very quickly as well that so people do know, every month that you keep your subscription going, we will actually continue to see some money from your subscription come to us. So, you know, not only are you protecting yourself, but you would be supporting us as well. So we thank our friends at NordVPN for allowing us to offer you this great deal. And if you want it, of course, the link is in the description as always. Go and check it out. But now, Jeff, I think that we should get to some video game news. And in particular, there's one that I want to start with, which is there's a game that got announced not too long ago that seems to have had its funding pulled. Let's talk about that one, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
Because it's a pretty big game, people, and it was revealed not too long ago. So this was somewhat shocking news.
Yeah. All right. Let me bring up the old document. All right. I got a plan, Arthur. All righty. According to Bloomberg, employees of Nagoshi Studio were told on Friday that NetEase intends to cut off funding for Gang of Dragon, which was announced at the Game Awards just 3 months ago, this coming May. NetEase allegedly made the decision after discovering that the project needed an additional 7 billion yen, which is about 44.4 million in funding to reach completion. Nagoshi is said to be seeking additional funding to continue developing the project, but has had no success so far. Neither NetEase or Nagoshi Studio has responded to the claims. Gang of Dragon was announced in December and said to be deep in development. The action game stars prolific South Korean-American actor Seok, best known for his performance in Train to Busan, The Outlaws, and Marvel's Eternals. In Nagoshi Studio's first Western interview in 2023, Nagoshi told VGC that he would not let down fans of his previous games and would ensure that they would be happy with his new studio's debut game. So, yeah, like this is, I mean, obviously games sometimes go past their budgets. Sometimes
Yes.
there's feature creep that kind of like, adds to the inflation. Sometimes it's just they're having issues. They have polish. Maybe there's new platforms that were being announced for or being ported to, and that drives up money. But this is kind of a major game developer. For especially for fans that love Yakuza.
Yes.
To go out and make his new game, and now it's kind of in jeopardy.
Yeah. I mean, what I will say is they've got funding till May, so that's another 2 months of guaranteed funding on the game. And if the funding is being pulled by NetEase, which it sounds like it is, because obviously we've got a situation here where they haven't commented, but from what we know, that's what employees were told. If that's happening, at least the studio has 2 months to find other funding before they run out of money, right? So they have a little buffer right now. So yes, this could be a doom and gloom. The project is over, but given that it's Nagoshi behind this project, and given kind of almost like his legendary status within the industry, I would be shocked if another company doesn't step in to provide the funding to continue development on this game. I don't know. How do you feel about it, Jeff?
I mean, NetEase has obviously had some issues with funding and pulling a lot of stuff, so this isn't kind of shocking. But again, like they've made a good pull into the game industry and funding certain things, and especially for like a game of this type, it kind of sucks to see what's going on. So like maybe another publisher could just come in and kind of take the whole thing.
I mean, I will say that it would be quite funny if Sega comes in and is like, "Hey, Nagoshi-san, let's get back together. Let's get back together." Like it's because what we heard was that the reason he parted ways with RGG and Sega was because he wanted to take the Yakuza franchise in a different direction than what they wanted to. But if you can bring him back and give him his own franchise that has some similarities to this other thing, why wouldn't you do that? To me, that feels like a layup for Sega. Like, part of the game's already been made, so you're not even funding the full project because, it's already years into development at this point. So I would imagine based on the budget required, what they're reporting here of how much more budget is required, and based on the team size at the studio, I would estimate that means this game probably has somewhere between another 18 months to 2 years of development that needs doing on it to get it to a full release situation.
Yeah, at least a year.
But it's like $44 million, I believe you said it was.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a lot for what is essentially going to be a AAA game. So any company that steps in, this game being from such a legendary creator, being from a team of people that have a history of making good games and seem to be making a game that has a lot of similarities to games they've made before as well. So it's not like they're doing something drastically different, right? I really think it's an easy layup for anybody, and I would be shocked. Like I would be shocked if another publisher doesn't come in, just thinking about it. It's almost like if Kojima lost funding on a project one day, there is no way that there wouldn't be a publisher within the industry that would come in and go, yeah, here you go, here's the money. Do you know what I mean? And
I think it's a different thing with Kojima. I think that the guy that's making this is not nearly on that particular level. I
yeah,
mean, like, I think that honestly, maybe less than half of the people that are playing the early Yakuza games are really wondering who made them. But I mean, still, he's got the credibility for those that know.
yes, yeah.
Um,
And you would expect that the people within the industry know, right? That's the thing. That's kind of my thinking is like, yes, I agree. He's absolutely not on the level of Kojima in terms of public perception, but in terms of in industry perception, I don't think he's that far away. Like, we have to remember, and I've always said this, he actually, his career mostly took off in the late 90s when he was part of the team that made Shenmue, right? And he then went on from that to create the entire Yakuza franchise and did like what 10 games over a decade or something like that. This guy has a really strong portfolio of work that I think is easy for people to look at, and I wouldn't be shocked. Like, yes, okay, Sega's somewhat of a long shot because he left Sega before. We don't know what kind of terms they parted on. But Sega also knows him very well. So would they trust him to be able to deliver on something that is going to give them return on investment, right?
Yeah.
Another publisher that I think probably knows him very well, given the long-term history of the Yakuza franchise, is actually PlayStation. Like, I wouldn't be shocked one bit to see PlayStation step in here and sort of go, hey, we can have our own exclusive version of something similar to the Yakuza franchise again. And we're going to have it from the guy that made that franchise in the first place. Because let's remember, for most of the Yakuza franchise's history, it was exclusive to the PlayStation platform.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that part there as well. I really hope that somebody steps up and finances the rest of this game, because based on the early look of the game and based on things they've revealed about how the game will play and screenshots we've seen and stuff, this looks exactly like the slightly more mature version of a Yakuza game that I have wanted for quite a long time. And I love the Yakuza franchise as it is, but I've always wondered what would they be like if they lent a little bit more into the serious side of things, right? And Gang of Dragon does look like that's what they're trying to do. So I wish the team all the best. Hopefully we'll have some more positive news about this in the coming couple of months, but we will keep you updated on it, of course. But for now, what other news do we have to talk about today, Jeff?
Quite a bit here. All right, so this one's a little long just because there's a lot of little issues or more detail beside the headline. PEGI, which is the European version of the ESRB, has announced that all games with loot boxes in them will soon be rated 16 and up. Excuse me. The European Games Rating Board announced that starting in June, it will be introducing a number of minimum age ratings for games with certain interactive risk features. Games with paid random items, generally described as loot boxes, will have a default rating of PEGI 16, meaning they can't legally be sold to children 15 or under in the UK or any European country which has adopted the PEGI rating system. In some cases, they can be PEGI 18, it adds, though it doesn't specify which conditions would trigger this. While features that reward players for returning to the game, such as daily quests, will only be rated PEGI 7 at a minimum if players are punished for not return such as losing content or slowing down their progress, these games will be rated PEGI 12. Finally, if a game with online communication features are entirely unrestricted with no blocking or reporting abilities, they'll be rated 18, PEGI 18. The new rules will only apply to games newly submitted before the January 2026 and onwards, which means that existing titles with loot boxes or any other above features won't be getting new ratings. The changes will affect the age ratings of some long-running series, most notably EA Sports FC. The latest game in the series is rated PEGI 3, but unless EA removes loot boxes from its Ultimate Team mode in EA Sports FC 27, which almost certainly won't happen given how much income it generates from them, it will instead be rated PEGI 16. According to PEGI, these changes are being made to bring standards in line with those of the USK, the German age rating authority, which made similar changes in 2023 after the German Youth Protection Act was updated. We are happy to find ourselves once again aligned with PEGI in addressing online interaction risks and as these changes are coming into effect. USK Managing Director Elizabeth Sector said in a statement, "For us, it has been a useful and successful change. At least one of our new USK criteria has been applied to approximately 30% of all games that were submitted since we updated our system. Around 1 in 3 of those games have been given a higher rating as a result. The effect of the changes was visible and impactful." PEGI Council Chair Beat Vaj added, "With the updated set of age rating criteria, PEGI aims to make parents aware that certain features in games should be carefully assessed, and that parental tools can be a very helpful assistant with doing that." So this is kind of a big step forward in regards to regulation for it. Now, you're still going to find kids that are wanting to play these games are still going to get access to it because they're like, it's a football game. Oh, it's this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, in theory, this is actually a really positive change and something that, in theory, could affect future games. But in reality, this is going to have little to no effect, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because, let's be quite honest, kids aren't going to the shops and buying their own games anyway. And so the parents are going to buy it for them. And you can't stop a parent from doing that because ultimately an age rating is only a guideline. And yes, I understand what they're saying, that it's the point of the age rating is to kind of make sure that parents are looking at it properly and assessing it properly. In reality, though, I think the vast majority of parents in the world do not look at any age rating things because they just decide based on their own children because they know their own children better than anyone else, right? And like you said, Jeff, I think that most people are going to look at something like EAFC and go, "Oh, it's a football game," or they'll go, "Oh, it's the same game I've been buying them for the last 5 years. Why would I stop buying them it?" You know? And then when they find out actually nothing has really changed in the game, they're still going to buy them it anyway. So, yes, it's important from a regulatory standpoint, and it may have some effects here and there, right? It may do, for sure. But in reality, I think for the bigger games, such as EAFC, it's not really going to have an impact. Like, yes, okay, we did see with loot boxes in the past when places in Europe have brought in certain regulations around needing to show the percentage of probability and things like that. So there have been positive changes due to regulatory changes, but this is not going to stop loot boxes from appearing in games. That's the thing.
Mhm.
Like, because in reality, as we just said, parents are going to buy their kids the game anyway. And you know, I'll be quite frank. Like, I'll look at it another way. This isn't even a loot box thing, but it's an age rating thing. How many people played a GTA game before they were actually 18? You know,
Oh, yeah, lots.
like basically every single person that's played GTA probably played it before they were 18, because in reality, people don't actually care that much about age ratings. Like, they are called a guideline for a reason. Yes, they're there to advise you, but technically, they are not. Once something is in somebody's hands, it's not like that age rating stops them from playing it,
Yeah,
right?
it's not like there's some eye scanner that comes out going, boom, access denied. You are not
Yeah.
18.
Yeah, and the only way, and it would cause a massive problem, the only way that they could do something like that is in the UK, we now have a thing where for lots of online, for web browsing and stuff, for certain websites, you have to prove your age, right?
Yeah. Discord tried doing that and they pulled back on that big time.
Yeah. But it's like, so the only way that you could ever make age ratings more enforceable past the initial sell is basically have a situation where people had to prove their age. But even then, people would find a way around it, so it's useless.
Oh, there is the Discord thing. People made a AI generated ID thing where you just keep refreshing, and then you'll just like find one, submit it, and then it gets approved.
This is what I mean. So in theory, this is an amazing change, and I'm not saying that it's a negative thing that this has happened. I just have massive doubts over the actual impact of this kind of change. Like, if this was something that had happened 10 years ago, it might have had a much bigger impact. But we're now too far gone with the loot box situation. You know? Like, the games that have loot box type mechanics, such as EAFC, are now so big and make so much money from those specific mechanics that they're not going to change them. Whereas if this had happened a decade ago, they might have sort of gone, yeah, okay, we make a lot of money, but it's not worth the risk of having a legal problem somewhere down the line, you know, because that is the one thing that this regulation does put in place, is they could potentially end up with more legal problems on the back end. You know, they could end up with some legal issues happening. But other than that, I honestly, unfortunately, don't think that this news is going to make that much difference in reality.
Yeah. No, like it definitely just comes down to like I think the biggest news is the games that have like online stuff that don't provide blocking and all that kind of tools getting PEGI 18. I
Yes,
think you'll start seeing a lot of online games getting those blocking and stuff so that they can lower that
absolutely.
down. Because I think
And
that's
I'll be quite honest, every game should have those features anyway. The amount of times that I'm on a game and we will encounter, you know, we'll have like a random join our group, and then they're either griefing us, or they're quite frankly just useless and not playing as a team. And
yeah.
it's like, yeah, okay, I want to block you so that I never play with you again, you know? Like, so in my opinion, that is an amazing thing, as you just said,
They
because
need that on arc raiders, especially for like Peanut getting stream sniped. Like they could block the ability of playing with those guys or
absolutely, yeah, I think that, you know, I have no issue with that at all. And I do think, as you point out, that is the one element of this where there probably will be a massive change of like games making sure that they have those blocking and reporting features,
yeah.
because the vast majority of really big AAA games definitely have those features, but some of the smaller sort of indie and AA games sometimes forget to add those systems in, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll probably see those getting more and more of those systems as we go on. But for now, let's talk about some more news, shall we? Where are we going to go next?
We'll just go down the list. Why not? All right. Game Freak and Koei Tecmo's Pokemon Pokopia is already one of the best-selling Pokemon spin-off games ever after just 4 days of sales. On Thursday, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company confirmed suspicions that the Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive was off to a very strong start, confirming that sales have already surpassed 2.2 million as of last weekend. That figure includes more than 1 million units in TPC and Nintendo's home market of Japan, the pair said in an announcement. As summarized by Cerebi editor Joe Merrick, this means that Pokopia is already in the top 12 selling Pokemon spin-offs ever based on known digital and physical sales data. Pokopia was released last week, and it soon emerged that dozens of retailers worldwide sold out of the physical version, which is just simply a game keycard. According to the game business editor Christopher Dring, UK sales data suggests that physical copies of Pokopia was seriously undersupplied at retailers, and it's likely a similar situation worldwide. There's also news coming out that Amazon has actually hiked the price of Pokopia as well due to demand. I don't know what the exact increase or anything like that is. I'll try and find it here.
That's crazy. If that's the case, that kind of, when that happens, you know there's a high demand for the game. But what I would say is I'm not shocked, because this is what happens when you
They upped it by $10.
Oh, wow. Okay. So quite a substantial increase as well.
However, the price has since dropped back down.
Okay. Good sign. Good sign.
Yeah. But yeah, so like, I mean, we'll get into my thoughts on Pokopia later, especially since I've done kind of like a complete 180 on the title. Because when it was first announced, I was like, who the fuck needs this? And now I'm like, everybody fucking needs this. Are you kidding me? Like,
I just bought it this morning. I haven't played it yet, so.
Yeah. No, my guys are like building a little house right now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Let's see here. Let me pan.
Jeff's got Pokemon building houses for him
from sleep. All right, yeah. So they're building a little house right now.
Wow!
Right,
look at that. You can see them.
It's gonna be ready at 8:55.
Wow! So I have to ask. Obviously, just because you've just mentioned that, we'll speak more about the game later. But does that mean things happen in real time in this video game?
Yeah, so when you make a Pokemon Center, it'll be ready tomorrow.
Wow, okay, so they're gonna have people playing this for months, like people played Animal Crossing.
This is going to have just as long of a tail as Animal Crossing, and I think it's actually going to have a bigger tail because this is Pokemon.
Yeah, true.
And every single Pokemon that you come across has some like emotional impact to all players, even if they're not familiar with the game. Whereas with Animal Crossing, you built those emotional connections from playing the game and exclusive to the game. So there's no exterior factors making the game emotional to you.
Yeah, for sure. But that makes sense. That's a really good point, actually.
Like this is this news is not surprising. I mean, this was made by the Dragon Quest Builders team. So like the moment a lot of people found that out, they're like, okay, this is good. Because this is basically like Dragon Quest Builders 3, essentially, just with Pokemon. And it's got some Animal Crossing things, but it's also got like all the quality of life features that people wanted in Animal Crossing are pretty much here. And I know like people online right now, like a lot of people who got into Animal Crossing on the Switch 1, they'd never played video games before. So they've never had that jump from one hardware to the next. So a lot of people that are like, what do you mean I have to buy a Switch 2 to play Pokopia? So they're experiencing their first like next gen drop off essentially. But there's a lot of people that are like really upset that this game's not on Pokemon or Switch 1. But I mean, it would look like it would run like crap on Switch 1. Like these people are like, well, Animal Crossing looks really good. I'm like, yeah, well, Animal Crossing doesn't even have real trees. Like if you look at how the real trees are made, they're 2D images.
Yeah, true.
They're not 3D. So like the world, like you go into like one area in Pokopia, and it's like a pretty big area. But then all of a sudden you go to another area that's like 3 times the size and you're just overwhelmed, but in a good way. And then you
Wow.
go to another area and another area. Like it's just the game is massive. Uh, but yeah, sales have been extremely good on it. And honestly, I think this is the kind of game that's probably going to hit about 6 or 7 million sales by the end of the year, at least. This might end up being probably the best-selling game on Switch 2 for some time to come. The next Pokemon game, the main series Pokemon game, obviously is going to do some
Uh,
pretty big
I
numbers.
mean, to give you some idea, I haven't used my Switch 2 since around a month after the launch of the machine,
Mhm.
and this game has brought me back to using the Switch 2 again. Like I will be playing this, and I'm
Yeah,
sure I'll be
this is
enjoying
the
it.
this is the first system, the system's first killer app. I mean, like
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Bonanza, I don't think was the killer app they wanted it to be. Metroid Prime 4 is definitely not the killer app that they were looking for. Even the last Pokemon game, like I traded the Pokemon ZNA and Metroid Prime 4 and got this game.
Wow.
Um,
Okay, that says a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, and yeah, like it's the sales have been good. Game is excellent. So we'll have more to talk about when I talk about the game.
Nice. What else do we have up on the news today?
Well, I'm going to save the Xbox One for the end.
Yes.
So I got 2 more stories before that. So this one's a quick one. The creator of RPG Chained Echoes is suing publisher First Press Games for failing to release the physical editions promised to its Kickstarter backers. Developer Matthias Linde said the decision wasn't easy and came after careful consideration, but did confirm to backers that they were preparing a lawsuit. It's been a bit over 2 years since the physical copies were supposed to be released by First Press Games, and so far in 2026, nothing has arrived except the regular PlayStation 4 edition. Because of that, I had to make a decision, Linda wrote. I am terminating my business arrangement with FPG and in preparing a lawsuit. This decision wasn't easy and came after careful consideration. Please understand that for legal reasons, I cannot go into details. Linda said their focus right now was to get physical editions out to Kickstarter backers via an alternative publisher or issue refunds to players who pledged support back in 2019. If you decide to choose the first option, you may have to wait again. It is possible that new versions can only be produced once the lawsuit is over, but we are looking into that option. You can, however, get a refund anytime, though, so be rest assured. Linda ended the post saying, I understand that a lot of people are frustrated with the situation, the long waiting time, and the vague information. I'm very sorry for the circumstances. So this is kind of an interesting thing because, like, Kickstarter has obviously had a history of like sometimes not meeting goals, but sometimes that's been due to completely different factors, as opposed to you have a company that promised these editions and have not made the Switch versions. They've not made the collector's editions. They've not made the soundtracks. They've not made all these other Kickstarter goals. And
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
like, yeah, like Matthias Linda pretty much has to kind of take legal action against this because this company's had years to work on this
Yeah.
stuff. Like
Absolutely.
if they
Absolutely.
had if they had even met like some aspects of the goal, it'd be a completely different situation. But they've ignored everything except for the PlayStation 4 versions.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's no details that we're privy to in terms of like, why exactly, because that company has not made for comment yet. But
Yes. I mean, we'll keep people updated as and when we hear things, of course. But for now, that's all we
yeah,
know. What do we have up next on the news?
another lawsuit. All right, let's fucking go. A 2.6 billion class action lawsuit alleges that millions of UK PlayStation users have been subjected to excessive and unfair charges by Sony in a new anti-competitive court action. According to the BBC, consumer campaigner Alex Neil accuses Sony of implementing a sustained strategy of excluding competitors by monopolizing the sale of digital games via its closed ecosystem, the PlayStation Store. The result is that Sony can and does set the retail prices of all content itself without facing any retail competition for digital content, said Robert Palmer, KC, on behalf of claimant. Neil It allows it to obtain monopoly profits from digital distribution, setting retail prices at what it refers to as its target margin of an excessive and unfair 30% above the level of digital wholesale prices. He also stresses that only one of its three consoles contains a disk drive. Players are then obliged to purchase games via its online store. If successful, the court case could see an estimated 12.2 million British players compensated for any and all downloads over a period of about 10 years, amounting to about $215 per person. Consumers would automatically be included in any judgment on an opt-out basis. Sony told London's Competition Appeal Tribunal that adding third-party stores to its infrastructure could pose a security risk, and claimed that used game sales to subsidize the cost of its hardware consoles, which are sold at a low profit margin. The tribunal is expected to last around 10 weeks.
I mean, this isn't going to be successful, surely. Like, surely not.
I mean, I hope it is.
I hope it is,
like
but I do. Yeah,
like it's definitely good for consumers if because again, when you have a digital only sale or a digital only console, the console holder can kind of hold those games for ransom from you.
they control everything at that point, right?
Yeah.
Especially like when they've only got one store on the console, and you know that's one of the major advantages, for example, of PC gaming, which I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about later. But you have multiple stores on PC, so there's no one store that can hold things to ransom.
Yeah, and even if you have Steam, you can go to other websites and purchase Steam keys at a completely reduced margin, like G2A and Game Keys
Absolutely.
and all that kind of stuff. So there's different ways of doing it. And like the thing is, like you can also get that same kind of thing through consoles and purchasing console keys as well too. So I mean, there is that aspect of it. But yeah, like this, like this type of thing could affect Xbox and Nintendo as well.
It could, although I think Xbox is about to be in a very different position soon, which I'm sure we will talk about very soon. Again, I hope that this lawsuit is successful for the sake of the general consumer. I just think it's very unlikely to be successful.
Yeah, I think the fact that some of their consoles ship without a disk drive, I think will be kind of a factor that could lead to the consumer winning in this case.
Yeah,
but if
potentially.
You do, then you get $215.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah,
I will, and I certainly wouldn't complain about that. I would pay for my share of the website this year.
Well, and the thing about it, you put that right back into Sony, you can buy more of their overpriced games, and then the lawsuit begins again.
Very true. Very, very true. But yeah, what else do we have up on the news today?
All right, so the final news piece is a little bit of a long one. All right, so Microsoft has shared new details on its next generation console, Project Helix, and reiterated that it will run both Xbox and PC games. Speaking during a session at the GDC in San Francisco, Jason Ronald, VP Next Generation, confirmed that Helix will be powered by a custom AMD SoC with next-gen ray tracing performance. According to Ronald, Helix will offer an order of magnitude increase in ray tracing performance capability beyond what's currently possible with the Xbox Series X and S. Development kits will be dispatched next year, he said. As previously confirmed, Microsoft's next console will be able to run PC games. Ronald told GDC that Microsoft believes that player behaviors have changed and that the days of people defining themselves as console, PC, or mobile games don't really exist anymore. The session went on to confirm that Xbox mode is also coming to Windows 11 starting next month in a further convergence of console and Windows gaming, adding features from the handheld Xbox Ally to PC. Ronald also emphasized Microsoft's commitment to game preservation and teased the ability to play classic games in new ways later this year. Project Helix is powered by a custom AMD SoC and co-designed for the next generation of DirectX and FSR to unlock what comes next. It delivers an order of magnitude leap in ray tracing performance and capability, integrating intelligence directly into the graphics and compute pipeline, and drives meaningful gains in efficiency, scale, and visual ambition. The result is more realistic, immersive, and dynamic worlds for players. I'm excited to share we plan to ship alpha versions of the hardware to developers beginning in 2027. And we're committed to keeping games from 4 generations of Xbox playable for years to come. As part of our 25th anniversary later this year, we'll be rolling out new ways to play some of the most iconic games from our past. Ronald said that by converging Xbox and Windows gaming, Project Helix would offer developers a simpler, more unified path to reach more players while helping reduce development costs. As games increasingly span devices, we're breaking down the barriers between console and PC games for more seamless cross-play device. And we're making the Xbox experience consistent across screens. We're taking everything we've learned from about building and leading gaming OS and bringing it directly into Windows for both players and developers. After debuting in an early version with the ROG Ally handhelds, today I'm excited to share that we are bringing the same innovation to Windows 11 with Xbox mode that begins rolling out in April, starting with select markets. So this is like the first kind of official news that we've had about their next console.
Yes.
And it is one of those things where, like, again, if it's playing Xbox and PC versions, what version are we actually getting on Project Helix? Because it would kind of make sense that we're just getting the Windows PC version of all Xbox games.
So I've got quite a lot to say about this, so please bear with me. So there's a few interesting things they said here. Firstly, I want to hit a nail on the head of people are speculating that, because this dev kit isn't going out till next year, that means there's no way the console is coming next year. I don't agree with that, and I have evidence to back it up. Look at the Xbox Series launch, or look at the Xbox One launch, or look at even all the way back to the Xbox 360 launch, right? The Xbox 360, the dev kits went out in spring, and the console launched in fall of the same year. Okay?
Yeah.
With the Xbox One, dev kits to third-party developers, which is what they're talking about, went out in early 2020. With the Xbox Series. Early 2020. When did the Xbox Series consoles launch? Fall of 2020. Xbox One went out around 18 months before launch, okay? So yes, there's a chance that depending on when they get these dev kits out to developers, the console might not come till 2028.
Mm-hmm.
But there is quite a lot of strong history that shows that if they get this dev kit out within the first half of next year, the console's probably coming next year.
Yeah, and at the exact same time is PC games are not being held hostage with like the console version going, well, we can't release the PC version because the console version is going to blah, 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 blah. They're going to be making the game high end on PC and then porting it via the tools used on the development kits.
Yeah. And actually, this is where I wanted to dig in a little bit more, because I've been doing a bit of research about this, and obviously I have somewhat of a development background. Based on what they're saying, and we won't know whether this is true until developers get their hands on it and start making things. Based on what they're saying, with this hardware, they've effectively created a system where you can make one version that will run, that will basically be releasable in a console, in an Xbox console version and a PC version at the same time.
Because like the teams essentially, it's like, it's too expensive, or there's no return on making an Xbox version. Where if you just make the PC version and it plays on Project Helix, you've essentially eliminated those costs.
So I think that they have some questions to answer still. For example, are we buying Xbox console versions? We got banter coming into frame here. Are we buying Xbox console versions? Or are we essentially only going to be buying the PC version from now on? Or is it a situation where we know Xbox has the Play Anywhere system, right? is it a situation where every game for Project Helix going forward is going to have to be a Play Anywhere title, and therefore you get the console and the PC version of the game?
Well, I honestly think with Project Helix is that I don't think there will be console versions
I agree.
of that current gen titles. They'll just be the Xbox PC version, and that would run
Yes.
on there. And I think honestly they could do a thing where if you have Xbox Series X or S or whatever, you could cloud stream
Yeah.
that game on there, so people wouldn't
Well,
have to buy a brand new game to play.
yeah,
Halo
true.
2.
That's a good point, actually. I didn't even think about that. What I do like about this, though, and one thing they said, which I think people are misinterpreting, they made a point of saying that Project Helix will play your Xbox games and it will play PC games. That basically is them telling you that although this hardware is going to be different and probably going to be more like a PC, it will still play your Xbox games.
Yeah, and they said
And
something about how it'll play even more generation games and
yeah,
stuff. So I think they're going to have like a major leap in backwards compatibility, I think.
so yeah, so I just wanted, so this isn't confirmed, but Nate the Hate, who is quite a reputable leaker within the industry, has a lot of history of being very accurate, has basically revealed that as far as he's aware, what they're working on and what is planned to release this year is that you will be able to play your Xbox games from the 360 and original Xbox generation on PC, which obviously has been a massive kind of thing that people have wanted for years. But if they can basically get official emulation on the PC for those systems, at that point, that's a huge leap in backwards compatibility, because people can have every single Xbox system ever within Project Helix, right? And this is the other thing about Project Helix that we don't know right now. But based on the fact that it's a more PC focused system, based on what they're saying, and they're bringing the Xbox mode to it, like they're bringing that to Windows 11 already, that suggests to me, for a start, they have renamed it from the Xbox full screen experience to Xbox mode. I think there's a very specific reason for that, because I think their long-term goal is that you will be able to effectively get a version of Windows that is specifically for gaming. I think that's what their long-term hope is with this Xbox mode. And but what we don't know right now is, will Project Helix support other storefronts? Because if it does, and I expect that it will do personally, I think that based on the fact they're saying you will also be able to play your PC games, they almost have to allow it to support other storefronts.
Yeah, like that's a tough one. Like they could do a thing where it's only Xbox PC, like the Xbox PC store.
They could.
And that they won't have Steam or Epic and stuff like that. And the reason for that is because they don't get they don't get a share of sales if you're buying games on Steam or Epic or wherever like that. Like I could see them making money going like, hey, you can play, your brand new PC games on a piece of hardware that's a third of the cost of a standard PC, and then that money comes in. But you got to imagine they're taking a hit on the hardware anyways. So where exactly are they getting this money from then, if you are just playing your Steam games? Because you got to be able to make money on hardware.
I mean, but then that leads to the conversation of maybe, because obviously there's a lot of speculation that this is going to be a very high priced or very premium device to buy, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of the whole point. Maybe they're not going to eat the cost so that they can make the money up front, just in case you do only play your
Yeah,
Steam
but
games.
no, like because the reason I disagree with that is let's say the console is 1,200 US, all right,
Yeah,
and let's say that the console costs 1,100 US to manufacture. That's only $100 per console. Whereas
true.
when you have the games, they're making
Yeah.
$100 off 3 or 4 games,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So they and it can't be as simple as like, oh, if you buy a game on Steam on Project Helix, they get a cut of it. People will just go to their PC, purchase the game, and then go right back to playing it on Helix. There's no, it just doesn't work that way. So the only thing that I could see them doing is they is at the time that Project Helix comes out, they have
Hmm.
completely redone the Xbox store. Completely. Like a brand new layout, brand new everything. It's more like Steam, it's more like anything. And they make the game Helix compatible with that store and with the
Hmm.
Xbox store, and that's it. Because
Interesting.
I just don't see them doing the Epic store unless Epic gives them a shit ton of money.
What I know that Epic were the ones that came out and said like, if their device is this thing, we want to be on it.
Yes, so there would
S-
have to be some type of cut for that,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, but
and also given Epic and Microsoft's relationship over the years,
yeah,
that's something I could see happening.
yeah, I
Steam,
just
I
don't,
think, is more of a long shot because
yeah,
they're going to have their own device with the Steam machine.
yeah,
You know, people are going to buy that Steam machine if it's
yeah.
reasonably priced.
I
So
just
why
don't
would
see
Steam want to go over there? You know?
Yeah, I just don't see Steam being a platform on Project Helix
Yeah,
because that would just completely dwarf the sales and any type of game revenue that Helix would have. I
I
just
agree.
do not see
I
Steam
agree.
being on there.
I agree. I mean, it's an interesting one. I do agree with that in some sense. I think the difficulty they have, and our good friend Keith Mitchell would speak to this really well, is that if you're turning your device effectively into a PC, you have to also accept that PC gamers just have a different way of doing things. Like, and if you don't put the thing where they want it, then they're not going to use your thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I think that this device I don't think is made for the high-end PC user, but if
Hmm.
you get someone who's interested in PC gaming and they go, "Okay, hey, if I built this PC to the specs of the Project Helix, it's going to cost me $2,300
Yes,
US. But I can buy an Xbox Project Helix for $1,200
I agree. I think
and
that's
get best
exactly
things
what they're
there."
going for.
Yeah, I just like I think at the end of the day, I don't think Steam is going to be a platform that's on
Yeah,
here because they can still make their
yeah,
first party sales on Steam. And maybe those are compatible. Maybe the first party Steam games are compatible because
yeah,
Microsoft's still getting a cut. But maybe the third party games are just available through the Xbox store.
yeah, yeah. True, true. That's a good point. That is a good point.
Because they need to make
Um,
money on games, and you're not going to do it if you're allowing everybody's Steam accounts because you're just not going to get the revenue
yeah.
from that.
I think the problem is it all depends on their approach, right? Like right now we don't know enough about their approach. For example, if they are pulling back on multi-platform releases, which is something that some people expect, then I think we're in a situation where okay, at that point they probably wouldn't have Steam on the device because they would go, well, we've pulled back on multi-platform releases specifically so that we can get more people buying our device, right? But if they stick to multi-platform device to multi-platform releases for the majority of things, at that point, I think that they wouldn't necessarily care as much about having Steam on it because they will still make some money whether you're buying it on Steam or not. And let's not forget, they would still have Game Pass that you can sign up to and use on your
Yeah, they
Xbox
still have
Helix.
that, but I mean, if you get a like, say the next Assassin's Creed game. If someone just buys it on Steam, Xbox doesn't see $1 of that.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is if they do allow other storefronts, they wouldn't be making money on third-party games anymore because most people won't use their storefront unless they have a specific reason to use it, right?
Yeah.
It's they could do the Epic thing. Like, it won't go very well, but they could do the Epic thing where potentially they make certain things, they try and make certain things on PC either come to their storefront first or something like that. I don't really know. Right now I'm with you that I don't think they will allow Steam on there mostly because Steam has the power to not give them anything because they would benefit more.
I think Steam would say no.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. I think the way that Steam would look at it is you will benefit more from having us on your device than we will from you.
Yeah, and they want
allowing us on
the
your
Steam
device
machine because the Steam machine is meant to be a Steam version of the console for TVs.
Precisely.
So I just don't think Steam's on there.
Whereas Epic, I do think there's a strong chance that you'll get Epic on there because I do think that Epic would be more willing to make a deal and say, hey, do you know what? We'll pay you X amount of money a year to be on this device because let's be honest, Epic has struggled to compete with Steam in most cases, right? Yeah. People use it because they give away free games and for the occasional exclusive, but other than that, most people don't use Epic. However, I guarantee you that if Epic was available on the next Xbox, you would see an uptick in the number of people that use Epic. Like you just would. So that is more of a mutually beneficial partnership potentially there, I think.
And if they have a buy thing on there, Xbox would then get money as well too. So
absolutely agree. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. I think that right now, obviously, we don't know a lot because I think people forget that GDC is the Game Developer Conference. This talk and this information that was revealed is more for game developers and, quite frankly, not to disparage anyone, but it's for people who know what they're talking about, right? It's for people who can understand this technical stuff and kind of go, okay, there are people that know what this means and they know whether the machine's going to be a positive thing or not. They might still have questions over other elements of the machine, and there's definitely questions. I know that some people have said, like, is it going to be playing your Xbox games natively, or is it going to be emulating them? How's that part of it going to work? Other people... Go on.
I got a major concern now for this, because if it's playing the PC version of Xbox games, does that mean that we're going to get things like de novo?
So if it's playing the PC version, then yes, you probably will. Yes.
All right, because that would suck. Because I heard that Black Desert has de novo as well.
So de novo is in a lot of PC games. Yeah. And it is something that can affect performance.
Yeah, I know Capcom removes de novo a year after the games come out.
However, it's a weird one because there are different versions of it, and depending on the version that is used, it either has more or less effect on a thing. But yeah, I do agree with you that there are also issues that come with PC versions of games that don't exist in console versions of games.
Yeah.
And that's why, like I said, I wonder, and look, we don't know, but I do wonder whether there's going to be almost like two versions of the game, or at least a setting within a game where you can go, hey, I'm on Project Helix, optimize the game for me and also download anything that ever needs downloading for this game and do all of that, right? And then you'll have like a custom mode where people who know what they're doing can have more control over it like a PC game, if that makes sense.
And see, and they can still do the multiple SKU things. They just can't do a power differential. They would have to do something like, oh, instead of 2 terabyte storage, this one has 5 terabyte storage.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, and there's a lot of speculation right now. Like, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, we know they have the storage expansion cards with the series consoles right now. Given that they're going to a more PC style of device,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if they actually take a leaf out of the PS5's book and go, hey, we're just going to allow you to put your own SSD in the machine. And that way you can get whatever size you want.
For them to manufacture that stuff.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them do things like that. It's going to be really interesting. I do think that we'll start to hear more and more about this device in the coming months. And that's because they'll want to be drumming up developer interest in it. They'll want to be also kind of building a little bit of hype and momentum behind it, of like, right now, everyone's looking at this device and going, okay, it sounds promising, but can you deliver it? And how is it actually going to work? And I think that they do have questions to answer, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what the next sort of 6 to 12 months hold, because within the next 6 to 12 months, I would expect that we hear a lot more about this device.
Yeah.
But I think that's all we have for news today, right?
Yeah.
So, Jeff, I'm going to allow you to start. What have you been playing, sir?
Well, I'm going to put the things in the chat here so I don't have to keep going back to Discord.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll kind of continue going on the Pokopia talk. So yeah, like this is essentially Dragon Quest Builders 3. They've basically taken kind of like what made those games kind of tick. They added the Pokemon elements around it with a little bit of like the Animal Crossing kind of vibe as well too. And I think that people have been so desperate for another Animal Crossing that this is kind of their fix. This is essentially the evolution that Animal Crossing kind of needs to make. Like if the next Animal Crossing is not full 3D where you can spin the camera around and stuff, I think it'll be a huge downgrade. Because I think that this game essentially just allows you to kind of almost glimpse at what the future of Animal Crossing would be, but it also decorates it in Pokemon, which gives it a lot more of an emotional impact of like, people being, attached. Because like, again, like it kind of starts like every other Pokemon game where you'll encounter like the 3 starters and stuff like that. And you kind of help them. And, I built Squirtle a house, and it was apparently the house was not good enough for him. He wanted a couple bushes by the river, so now he's living his homeless life outside by the river. Yeah, like you team up with Pokemon to build buildings. You have objectives, you have requests that they have. Some people just want certain items. Just some items you can only get if you go to like the Dream Island, which is where true co-op lies, because when you have multiplayer, the other people are just spectators on your island. You can't really have them help you, because like it requires sometimes items that they don't want the progress to kind of be interrupted. But no, like it's got the same kind of menu systems as like Animal Crossing and whatnot, and you're planting like crops and whatnot. You got to till the soil, and there's things like, for example, like certain Pokemon will teach you abilities. Like Magikarp teaches you jump,
Okay.
and you have to like satisfy their needs, and then eventually they'll go like, hey, I'll teach you something. So like you'll talk to like I can't remember the Pokemon's name, but like he's got the little drills on his hands and stuff, and he'll basically like teach you how to till the soil, and then that also teaches you how to lift flowers, and
Okay.
and sometimes you give flowers to people, or you can use it in habitats, because each Pokemon comes to you based off the habitat that you've made for it. So some Pokemon, like you'll summon by putting 6 bushes together or 8 plants together, or some bushes around the rock. Like they'll have these habitats of essentially where they live, and that's how you'll summon them. And some Pokemon will take a little bit of work to get. They're either uncommon or there's the variations of it, like Volbeat and whatnot. Like I've just planted some flowers around the grave to get Cubone. So I'm going to see if I
Nice.
can get if Cubone will show up. Um, but each area essentially has like a Poke Center that you kind of want to build because humanity has gone away essentially, and this place has been just kind of like a barren wasteland, and now you kind of are responsible for bringing life to it. And there's several areas. I don't know the exact amount of how many there is, but I know there's at least 3. And
Okay.
each area is absolutely massive, like with incredible scale. Like, you take a look at Animal Crossing, and it was basically just like one flat island that you couldn't ever see the views around it. And whenever you needed to go somewhere else, you got in a boat and sailed off to it. Here, the areas are disconnected through these little door gateways, and even the tunnel gateway that you're going through can be decorated and whatnot. Um, but there's just a lot of creative flexibility in this game that Animal Crossing just doesn't have. Um, and yeah, like there's so many Pokemon. They all speak to you in English essentially through dialogue boxes and whatnot. So you're not walking into a Squirtle and he's going squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. Like he literally has dialogue. Um, and it's really neat. Like you play as a Ditto, you can customize what they look like. You get hairstyles. You'll find different hairstyles. You'll find different outfits. But yeah, like you'll get tons of different of Pokemon. Like I don't know the exact amount of how many Pokemon there are, but there's a lot, and each zone that you're in has its own collection of Pokemon. And
Wow.
I don't know if you can bring like Pikachu from one zone to the next. I don't believe so. Um, you can? Oh, I guess you can. All right. My Pokopia expert, Becky, has confirmed that you can bring. She's given a peace sign. I think it's a gang sign. I think it's a gang sign. She's given a gang sign. I don't know what gang she's part of, but oh yeah, there we go. It's the old rap poster posing. But yeah, apparently you can bring them. I don't know if you're kidnapping them or holding them hostage and then bring them over to a new area. I have no idea. Pokemon trafficking. It could be, you know.
I
But
mean, I mean, there's technically Pokemon slavery in this game, so you know.
yeah, I forced them to build all my buildings at a very low rate. Um, so I don't know, but no, it's really it is a lot more enjoyable than I gave it credit for when it first came out, because it just looked like why. But now that you see that it is like this kind of stopgap between the next Animal Crossing, especially one that features Pokemon. If this was just like Koei Tecmo made Dragon Quest Builders and they made like their own type of thing with generic things, I don't think it would. I don't think it hit as hard. But the fact that this is kind of like a major Pokemon game now,
Yeah.
like again, sales are going to be absolutely massive for this thing. But
Yeah,
no, like
absolutely.
it is very very good. They've done a very very good job at having the progression kind of feel fun and meaningful. The Pokemon interactions are very charming. There's a lot of very like kind of cute little moments between Pokemon. You can take a camera. You can set up a security camera and then access it from your camera no matter where you are in the game. So you're like, hey, I
Wow.
want to see how
Okay.
my guys are doing. And then like
Wow.
you'll have a security camera and you're watching them. You zoom in and like, Charmander, I see you. You're plotting something. So
Oh.
it's very fun. And again, like to play co-op, naturally you kind of have to go to this dream island, which is essentially this collective space where you can just kind of do whatever. And there's a lot of items that you get on the dream island that you can't find anywhere else. There's also a developer island as well that
Okay.
has items that you can't get anywhere. And essentially how you get those items is when you go to the developer island, you'll bring up your camera, and then you'll press a button that will copy the item, and then that item will then be available in your PC when you get back. Um, and it's really really easy to get to the developer island as well. But Yeah, there's a lot of really, really neat things that this game does, and it's going to continue to get more success as Switch 2. Like this is the first game that has released for the Switch 2 ever through the entire life cycle that people are literally considering a system seller, because the next Mario Kart really wasn't, the next Donkey Kong really wasn't, the next Metroid wasn't, the next Pokemon games, because that was still available on the prior one. This has been kind of the first killer app to push consoles in a significant way.
Yes, yeah. And while you were doing that, I was listening to you, but I was also figuring out how to redeem a code on Nintendo because their eShop is not great. Let's just say that. It
Well,
was, I was
you just
having,
go down to redeem and then enter in the console and
yeah, no, I know that you do, but the problem was every time I was doing it, I was just getting this page cannot load, there is an error. So it was just like, oh, okay.
maybe it's the UK eShop. I don't know. Canada,
Maybe, maybe. But
Canada.
what else have you been playing? Because I know you've been playing some other things as well.
Yeah. So I've played and still playing Greedfall: The Dying World. This is a sequel to 2019's Greedfall, but it's actually a prequel. That's why they dropped the
Yes.
2 back in December. And the reviews out for it. I think this game is good. Like I think it does enough for it to be um, a decent follow up to what Spiders has worked on. I'm not a fan of the combat as much. I've made my peace with it. I think it's serviceable, but I still would have loved it to been a hack and slash like the previous game. But this combat system essentially is like if Dragon Age Origins and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic had a baby. That's kind of where this combat lies. It's got the same active bar as Knights of the Old Republic. But
Okay.
no, like this is a prequel. It takes place 3 years before the events of it, so the Malachor hasn't really like taken off as much. It's still present, but this one is very different. It they've changed a lot to kind of make it its own beast. It plays way more like the old classic BioWare games than before, which was the inspiration for the first Greedfall. So this one they've just doubled down on it even more. You still get the same kind of thing where your party is made of a whole bunch of people from different walks of life, essentially, so that they all have certain perspectives. So if you're going in a situation where you need, this perspective, it's good to bring that character because something else will happen. Um, the dialogue is pretty straightforward in regards to like making your choices, failing or succeeding in certain things based off dialogue checks. There's like chests that you can open or not open based off dialogue checks, but I usually just save scum until I eventually opened it, even if it's like a 15% chance of doing it. I've had 100% chances fail. And I mentioned that to the developer because I've had some glitches, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't score it an 8 is I just had way too many glitches. I had one where I couldn't even attack. I had to go back an hour on a different save and redo a tough boss fight. But no, like basically you play as like an island inhabitant who is needing to go out or who gets essentially kidnapped um, for running tests on, and you kind of have to then find your way home. But the situation isn't just as much as finding a way home. There's other conspiracies that are occurring around you and as well to your home that kind of sparks you into action to something much bigger. And yeah, like I really do enjoy this game. I think it is very good, if not fantastic at times. But there are just things that hold it back for me. I don't think the combat is as good, even though like again they've kind of alienated the original fans of this game. So if they were really big fans of Greedfall because of how the combat was, there's tons of fans that are like, hey, I've noticed it has real time with pause combat. I don't want that. You can shift away from that with the focus mode, which makes it a little bit more simplified. But I've seen fans of the original game that are like, hey, I don't understand why this sequel wasn't made for me. I bought the first one. It seems like you're making this game for people who didn't buy the first one.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know, like
I can understand that because I will say, like, I never got around to playing the first Greedfall, but it was always one that I wanted to play. And then when I saw the combat was different in this one, I was just kind of like, no, that's not what I want. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
like
not gonna play this game.
I've never tried the real time with pause mode, the one where you're literally pausing it and adjusting and micromanaging and doing all this stuff and then letting it go. I won't do that. That to me sounds like the most tedious fucking bullshit that I just have no tolerance for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the focus mode, like if this game didn't have the focus mode, if it was just turn based, like with pause and stuff like that, I probably would have been like, yeah, no, I just can't. But the focus mode does make it playable. It does make it still fun. The combat still can be pretty decent. You're just basically working off things with cooldowns and whatnot. But I kind of wish that it still had that real time hack and slash combat. I think that honestly,
Yeah.
if it did and didn't have the bugs that I was experiencing, this probably would have been probably an 8.5 or a 9.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
it is a better game than the first Greedfall in regards to the world and the story. There's just much bigger stakes. But yeah, so that's Greedfall: The Dying World, and that's available
Nice.
now. It dropped on consoles yesterday.
Nice. And what else have you played?
Let's see here. We'll go with Toxic Commando. So I had a chance to check out Toxic Commando. I played a couple levels with Jordan and was it Jason?
James, who also
James, yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Who we also played. And I will say, like, this is basically Left 4 Dead, but with vehicles. It's like if Left 4 Dead took place in the Snow Runner or Mud Runner world, where they're like, we got to get in our trucks and like we got a winch, because like got to winch it, you know. But like yeah, like it's a first person game where you get into vehicles and you'll go through mud, and then if you can't go through all of it, you have to like winch to somewhere and then basically pull the vehicle free. This game is so much fun in co-op, and I will say that you can play it solo, but you will probably hate it because the AI is incredibly dumb. They won't do certain things. Like you can't put an objective marker on the map and then have them drive and then you get on the turret. If you have to grab a story equipped item, you can't get them to grab it or to do it. The most they'll do is interact with the computer when two people need to open up a terminal. That's the most they'll do. The AI is just incredibly dumb. But the thing is, like, when you're playing this game in co-op and you've got a plan of like how you're going to tackle the map, because the maps are pretty big, there's like objectives all over the place, but then there's one objective you go to and then one final one or whatever, and you can just beeline it and complete a level in 15-20 minutes, or you can explore the entire map and spend at least an hour or an hour and a half in that game session.
Yes.
And I will say the cosmetics are absolutely pointless. Like, you get outfits that are like different colors of what you're wearing, but this is a first person game. So the colors and outfits mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
You can get gun charms and things like that, but I mean, I've never stared at a gun charm when I'm playing with a game because I'm so focused on the action and stuff. I'm not going like, ooh, I can wiggle the gun charm. Like, I'm not doing that bullshit. So like that kind of stuff is dumb. Like, I do like the fact that you have your vehicles, and I think that more customization should have went into the vehicles where you could add like external factors. So like, okay, I have a regular pickup. I can add spikes and flamethrowers or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That would have been more in line with it. But the characters themselves have classes, and there's classes that throw fire. There's some that can heal. There's some that can have a defense bubble, or there's one that has a drone. And so I played as Ruby, who is the developer's attempt at making Ruby Rose, because one, they've got completely short pixie cut hair, as well as like the character's name is Ruby. Like they're basically like, it's like Ruby Rose when she was in that Vin Diesel Triple X the third movie. It's basically that Ruby Rose is in this game. But no, it's fun. Like we had a great time, I think, playing that. I would love to play some of the later levels. in co-op,
Yeah,
just because like
definitely.
playing through single player was an absolute chore.
Since we're on the subject of the game, like I really like it, and just so people are aware, if you've played World War Z, this is from the same team that made the World War
Yeah.
Z game. They're using the same tech in terms of the engine and the swarms and all that kind of thing. And there is definitely World War Z DNA in here. Like you can see it. Like the refill boxes for ammo look very similar. All those kind of things. Your
Yeah.
special weapon pickups. There's a lot of World War Z DNA in here. So it is kind of like if you combine what Left 4 Dead was with what World War Z is, that is what Toxic Commando is, I would say.
Yeah,
Um,
like the
it's
writing
good.
is really bad. Like I
Yeah,
don't think the writing is good. I don't think the voice acting, like I don't even like the characters. Like none of the characters are memorable. Like
yeah, I
absolutely
agree.
none of them. Like the one
The
main guy is so annoying.
Yeah, the main focus of this game is playing
Yeah.
effectively. There is some progression to be had around your classes and your guns. Like as you play more, you can get resources to upgrade your guns, add attachments to your guns, like sights
Even
and
then there's not
things like
many
that.
guns.
There's
Like in
not,
the
yeah,
I think there's like 10 guns in the assault rifles. There's like one in the sniper.
yeah,
Like, yeah, there's not a lot. Like it almost feels like this game comes at a lot of its components really half-assed. And I don't mean that in a quality way. I mean that in a content way where they're like, oh, they could have had way more guns. They could have had
yeah,
way more focus on that.
yeah.
Um,
Because what they have, the quality is good. It's
yes.
just that they could have had more of
Yeah.
each of these things.
And
But
maybe they're going to add more because there's not really even that
yeah,
many levels, and most of the
I
levels have the
mean,
exact same aesthetic.
I mean that when you look at what they did with World War Z, they absolutely will add more to this game. They
Yes.
they they supported World War Z with DLC for like 5 years or something.
Yeah.
So I absolutely expect more to be added to this game. I think it's a really strong starting point. Again, if you enjoyed World War Z, it's a similar loop here and it's similar systems here in terms of
Yeah.
how you're
Well,
playing and upgrading yourself.
I think the playing part of it, I think, is better than World War Z because the vehicles, like the vehicle
I
stuff, is
agree.
so much fun.
I
Like
agree.
doing like all the winching around with the
Yeah.
vehicles and stuff like that, the
Yeah. And when
flamethrower.
you like winch yourself and you forget to detach it and then your car ends up like hanging from one of these winch points and you're
I
just
want to
like,
like
oh
get a
no.
car on the side of a cliff and put a winch and then basically back up and see if it just hangs.
Yeah, that would be
But like
hilarious.
it again, it is like I gave it I think a 7.
Hmm.
It is a good game. It
Yeah.
is a good game.
Yeah,
It
and
just
I think
lacks a little
especially
bit.
in co-op, that's the one thing to
Yeah.
highlight is if you're playing this game in co-op, it's probably better than a good game. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
because you're adding to that experience of having it with friends and James, who has written reviews for us before, he did our Football Manager review last year.
Yeah.
He also reviewed this game over on the Outer Haven, and yeah, we had a great time. Like the three of us playing, and it's actually up to 4 players on this game, and
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that it's even though we've only scored it a 7 out of 10. I actually think there is one that I would recommend to people that enjoy this style of game. It's just that there are some shortcomings with the game.
There's caveats to recommending it because again, like there are some people going like, hey, is there AI people so that like I can play like years down the road when no one's playing? And yeah, you can. It's just not nearly as fun, but it also connects to the toxic network. So if the game goes down, I don't think it even matters if there's AI
I
guys.
agree.
They might make an offline mode. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But when you go back into it after game resume, hey, stop
Yeah.
playing Pokopia, okay? Nix, you can't play Pokopia, okay? It's not safe.
Stop playing Pokopia. Oh
Even my
Jesus.
cat, Even my cat is trying to get a Switch too, so she can play Pokopia.
Wow.
But we'll go into WWE 2K26 next, because I will say that I kind of wish that the team that made World War Z and made Toxic Commando were in charge of the crowds
I understand that. I knew you were going to bring that up.
in
For
a
some reason, my
WWE game.
camera's blurry right now. Focus, camera, focus. There we
Yeah,
go.
Focus Home Entertainment. That is who made Toxic Commando. Yeah, so we'll go into the WWE 2K26 because you think it's one of the best wrestling games out there, and I think it's one of the best wrestling games out there, but we have completely different opinions on some aspects of this game.
We do, yeah, we absolutely do. So I think you should go first, Jeff.
So here's the thing. I think this is a very good wrestling game. I think it's a very good wrestling game. I just think that everything else it tries to do that isn't wrestling, I don't think is that great. I don't think that, like, the My Island mode is basically just a interactive playable storefront. I don't think it really offers much more than that. The My Rise mode, I think, is excellent, but the presentation around anything to do with dialogue or conversing with characters or pushing the stories forward, I just don't think I don't think it nails it. Because when I'm talking to a wrestler and they are not how they are on TV, it's so weird. Because, like, I'll talk to Drew McIntyre in the My Island, and it's not Drew McIntyre. Yes, it is the voice of Drew McIntyre. Yes, it is Drew McIntyre visually, but it's not the Drew McIntyre that should be. Like, the attitude of him is so calm and so
the
bored.
the VO, and this is a problem that I didn't bring up in my review, but I do actually agree is an issue. But I noticed it less during the review period just because of the way that I was playing the game, and because of the fact that I spent a lot of my review period time actually playing in showcase mode and doing a few other things.
Yeah,
but
go
on.
No,
I was just gonna say that the VO's issue isn't like it was in the COVID days, where there's like echo because they're recording it in their homes and things like that. The VO problem is, and I assume this is an assumption on my part, they probably have very limited time with the wrestlers to record these lines, right?
Yeah.
And the issue we have is that there is no personality coming across in the lines. It's a deadpan read of all of these lines, and they don't put the emotion into it like they would as a character on TV. And if they had that emotion, it would completely flip the visual and audio presentation.
Yeah, like if you're talking, like, again, to like Drew McIntyre, he's like, you're a fool for believing that. In the Drew McIntyre on SmackDown, he'd be like, you're a fool for blah, blah, blah. Like, it would be way more attitude, way more aggression, but instead he's just calm and just sounds bored out of his fucking mind.
Yeah,
and that's the problem I have with the presentation in this game, is it just doesn't feel like the product. Like, when you are playing a pay-per-view or PLE at WrestleMania, there are giant lanes behind all the chairs and the stairs that are just completely empty, and it just does not look packed. It does not look sold out. The crowd doesn't interact with the things that it needs to at the time that it needs to. I'm playing a match, we're fighting, and the fans are looking off camera. We're like, where the fuck are they looking? And then we had an issue where we were playing the Royal Rumble and we were down to like the last like 3 or 4 people, and it comes up going, hey, the controller that you were playing is no longer registered. It was. It just, the screen would not go away. We had to quit the match.
Oh, wow. What the hell?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It was dumb.
So I and that's one thing I was going to say. So you're a little bit lower on the game than me. I do think that part of that is you had a much worse technical experience than I did.
It's not even the technical stuff, because like for me, it's just like they haven't changed this game in the last like 3 or 4 years. This plays exactly like 2K25, exactly like 2K24, where like the crowds are uninterested in anything that you're doing. The presentation around like the entrances and stuff like that, like Rhea still does not do her smile when she flips back her hair. She just and like it the wrestlers don't interact with the fans along on the border of like on the lane going to the ring and stuff like that. Like you can't have Javon Evans like fly back into the fans and stuff. Like the crowds just look completely uninterested. The creator wrestler still has 17 menus too much. Like it needs to be simplified quite a bit.
Yeah.
If you want to search character creations, it takes you like 10 seconds to load a single page. So if you knew something was on page 17, you got to sit through every single one of those loads.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
So I do agree that yes, they haven't. The problem is they haven't really innovated on the gameplay front, right? There
no.
is some positive changes to gameplay, in my opinion. So, for example, I actually quite like the new stamina system. I know you don't.
I'm iffy on it because of like when you're getting completely butchered in a 2-on-1 hardcore match or whatever like that, it's almost impossible to get up and attack.
Yeah. The reason that I personally like it is because, and I haven't had as many issues as that with it, but what I would say is the majority of matches I've been doing are usually one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
And in a one-on-one situation, what I find is that it actually makes the pace of the match more realistic to the TV presentation.
Yeah, because the characters are going to get exhausted. And like I do like the fact that it's more of an aggression-based wrestling game now than a wait and see approach, which is what previously was plaguing other
I agree.
things, because the wrestlers are a lot more aggressive. Like again, like when it is a wrestling game, when you are playing it, it's very good.
The stuff around it has more issues. I agree with that.
Like they need to like 2K27 needs to, especially with the fact that it is next gen or current gen only, they need to show me why. They need to show me why you could not have this experience on the previous Xbox and PlayStation.
Because I will say there are some signs in terms of the visuals, like certain visuals of certain characters who actually were able to get new models this year definitely look amazingly better, but the problem is not all of the models have been updated yet.
Yeah. Put Goldberg against 98 Triple H and tell me we're playing the same game.
Oh, I know. I know. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It is such an inconsistent experience because, again, like the stuff that they're doing from the wrestling point of view is great, but the stuff that they're doing around that stuff is just so fucking dated.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I feel like I'm playing a visual novel when I'm doing the My Rise.
Yeah, I think that what I would like to see, and this is the frustration point I have, right? Like, some of this stuff predates 2K taking over the franchise. But even back on the Xbox 360 days, we had a situation where, there would be wrestlers stood around backstage for you to talk to during the like Road to WrestleMania modes, right? In the SmackDown versus Raw games. But you would actually be walking around and it would be an invite, like you weren't just flipping through a menu to then go and speak to people.
That's what I want. I want the ability to run around backstage at Raw, even look out and see a match going on and the crowd going crazy, and then walk into the back, fighting Adam Pearce. You'd have dialogue things that you could ask him about, like, hey, I want a match tonight, or I want a match against someone, or you get attacked by your rival in the back area. And
I completely agree with you because the thing is, they've had this stuff in the franchise in the past. So we know that they can do it, right? And I agree with you. Like, add some of that stuff. Make it more interactive and less menu based in My Rise, for example, right? Secondly, please do whatever you need to do to improve the VO, because I love having VO. For example, even in the island, I think that having it VO'd is better than no VO at all. But the VO needs to have the personality of the actual wrestlers. It can't be a
Yeah,
deadpan
and
read of them just saying the words.
it has to be like accurate as well, because if I'm talking to Chelsea Green, Elbow Fire needs to be by her side all the freaking time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I
Chelsea
agree.
Green shouldn't just be standing by herself.
I agree. I agree.
So
So there are improvements to be made. What I would say is I do think that they've refined the gameplay to a level now where I'm happy with them leaving the gameplay as it is for the most part, as long as they can improve upon the other things, right?
yeah,
Like, if you're building upon the other things, and I get it because I know that what's happened in the last few years is they've focused on improving the island and making that a better mood and you know, doing my faction stuff. I get all of that. I understand why they've focused on those modes. And I do think the island, as someone who played it last year as well, the island is better this year. There's more of a story to it.
yeah.
There
It's
it
just like uh, there's a couple things that I really don't like. One, there's stores everywhere that are just wanting you to spend VC, but the
yes.
prestige system is also completely dog shit.
I do agree with that. Yeah, I
You
do
know,
agree with that.
spending VC to like upgrade your character to only then downgrade them.
Yes. I will say something we haven't mentioned, and some people have an issue with, but I really don't, is the ringside pass model.
Okay, the only thing that I have a problem with it is the same thing with the showcase. Is like if you buy the game today and you want to play as Stone Cold, you have to go through pretty much CM Punk's entire showcase mode just to unlock one Stone Cold, and there's only one
Yeah,
Stone Cold.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
some of the characters that are part of this ringside pass are characters that are advertised on the front of certain versions. So if you want to play as Hollywood Hogan, you got to get
Yeah.
to freaking my ringside pass tier 39.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that is the one issue that I have. I don't really have an issue with it being the model for DLC that's
No,
added after the fact. That's not a problem for
I
me.
think those characters that are part of the ringside pass should not be part of the advertising and marketing of what the game is, because
I
people are
agree.
expecting that Diesel and Razor Ramon and all these characters should be playable right from the get-go, because a
Yeah,
lot of them were in 25 just right
I
off the
agree.
get-go.
Yeah, I agree. So that, and I, to a certain extent, I understand why they've made this mistake this time around because I think it's their first time doing a ringside pass. They probably used some of the pre existing content to pad it out slightly while they learn what they're doing. So that's okay. But that is one major thing they need to learn going forward is like in future, everything that is in the game by default should be available when you start playing the game,
Yeah.
or at the very least, yes, have some things be unlockable in the showcase because I understand why you need to do that, but it shouldn't rely on you playing hours and hours and hours of content just to unlock things that should be in the base game. Certainly, if those superstars are on the front of an edition of the game, like because at that point it could be deemed as false
Like
advertising.
they
You
could
know?
have a special version of Stone Cold that is unlocked during the CM Punk showcase, but not the
Yeah,
default version of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
yeah, I agree. I agree. So it's an interesting one. Like I'm not saying there aren't issues with this game, right? And that's why it didn't get top marks from me over on the Outer Haven. But I do think that overall, the reason I ranked it as highly as I did is because I genuinely do believe that this is the best visual concepts developed wrestling game. Like from a pure wrestling standpoint, this is their best game. You know, does it have issues still? Yes. Are elements of it dated still? Yes. But I think Jeff said it before. if you haven't played last year's game, don't buy that one, buy this one, because this is the better version of the game.
Yeah, because you get like updated stuff. Like they even have like the Vision staple. I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting them to have that because half the time when you get these games, they've got like characters who they were like a year ago.
Yeah, I agree. So they've done a pretty good job with that stuff. Yes, I do wish that more of the models had been updated for this next gen version. Like, I actually, do you know what? This is going to sound controversial, but I would have even said, look, I would have said, hey, we're delaying, we're going to have a year off, but that's because next time when we come back, we're going to be next gen only. And then what you do is in that year off, you update every single person with a brand new model. Yes, I understand why for some of the Legends models and the retro models and things, you're never going to be able to make them look quite as good because you cannot scan those people as they were back then, right?
No, but I mean, you can still like, you get like Triple H '98 and stuff like that. There's TV footage
I
of
agree.
these wrestlers that
Yeah,
they could make them look a lot better because like the texture quality on them is so piss poor.
I agree. Yeah. So there is definitely improvement to be had. I really like it though, and I think that if you're looking for a game where you're going to be focused mostly on in-ring stuff, like if you're someone who's going to play universe mode and have fun doing that, or you're going to play GM mode, set up matches, and then play through the matches yourself, I really do recommend this game. Yes, I agree with some of Jeff's issues. I have slightly different mileage on some of them. I do think it's worth being aware that I know that there are technical issues at the moment on the Xbox version of the game specifically. Um, but let's remember that the game is only receiving its full release today at time of recording. So technically everything we've played up to this point has been early access, right? So, and I do know that even in the early access period, they have patched the game twice. So, in terms of technical problems, those things might improve by the time you've even played the game. There are absolutely dated issues here. One of like Jeff mentioned it before. One of my biggest problems with the game, and it is something I call out in my review, is the crowd. The crowd is quite frankly terrible. Like it's not good.
For a next
Like
gen only, for a current gen only game,
yeah,
like the crowd is like, again, like you take a World War Z was like 4 or 5, 6 years ago. You could you can have an area flooded by people,
yeah,
and you generally only have to do the one side.
yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is because the way the camera's set up, they only really need to do the one side. Even if they didn't, we know that you can have enough models on the screen to do it, and you can have them be more animated as well. Yes, okay, I understand that there are more physics at play in this game, and therefore there are things you might not be able to do with the crowd, right? But these crowds, quite frankly, don't even look last gen. They look the gen before. You know,
Mm-hmm.
these look like Xbox 360, PS3 crowds, and they haven't really improved much since then. And if anything, I would be willing to bet that from a crowd perspective alone, the crowds back then might have actually even been better because they might have actually reacted to what you were doing a little bit more if I remember rightly. And I don't think I've ever experienced on one of the older wrestling games points where the crowd are looking away from the action. Like that's a very weird thing that happens. I get some of the shortcomings, don't get me wrong. We've mentioned it before about I understand the reasons certain chants can't be in the game due to licensing agreements and things like that. But
Yeah.
but my God, please, please improve these crowds. please improve the VO. Like those two things alone, improve the VO and improve the crowds, and Jeff's score probably would have gone up by an entire point.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like there's just some wild inconsistencies in terms of like the presentation. Like it still
Yeah.
doesn't feel like you're actually like making the product that, this is trying to emulate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before I move on to what I've been playing, have you played anything else?
Not that I can really talk about.
Okay, okay.
I've been playing a few things that will be coming down the pipe, eventually.
Yes.
But no, I think all we have pretty much left is kind of your additional thoughts on Marathon. I haven't had a chance to play it.
Yes.
I didn't get a code. I'm just a little too busy and still trying to figure out the Monster Hunter situation.
Yes. Yeah, we're hoping to get Monster Hunter Stories 3 for coverage. Whether we do or not, we'll see what happens there. But I have been playing Marathon. I've played around sort of 15 hours of it now. I'm co-reviewing it over at the Outer Haven with our friend Keith Mitchell and Scott Adams. And I have to say, the more I play the game, the more I like it. I do think there's issues with the balancing of the game to a certain extent, but Bungie once again has nailed the core gameplay, right? Like they know how to make shooters that feel good, and beyond that, this has the best balancing of guns for a competitive shooter that I've ever played. To the point where you've got different rarity levels of guns, right? But let's say that me and Jeff are playing, and I've got a common handgun, and he's got a common machine gun of some kind. Depending on how I play, I have just as much chance of winning that gunfight as Jeff has. And it's all because the guns are so well balanced to the point that you never really feel outmatched, right? The only time you feel outmatched is when someone has higher rarity stuff than you, but that's when you should feel that way. Like if someone's got a blue gun, which is rare in the game, then they should be better than a common gun. And it should feel noticeably better, right? So is it as good and as fun as something like Arc Raiders? I don't think so. But it does have aspects of it that are really fun. Like
it seems like it's more like Tarkov than Arc Raiders.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a good comparison to make. And what I would say is the core gunplay is more fun than any other game in the extraction genre that I've played. Where I think the game has issues is in its balancing outside of gunfights, right? So there's not enough loot on the maps in most cases, to the point where, let's say you have a few bad runs and you lose some guns and you lose your heals and things like that, right? You will start with a free sponsored kit. The problem is, with a free sponsored kit, you get maybe 1 or 2 clips of ammo. And you can find ammo on the map, but in my whole 15 hours of playing, I have found like 5 ammo crates on the map, you know?
Oh, shit.
And it's like, I'm not saying there isn't loot. There is loot on the map, but there's not enough loot where you can reasonably build yourself up from not really having anything. The best way to build yourself up is to kill other players. And I think that that's where this game is a little bit misleading, because it presents as a PvP VE game, but in reality, I actually think that the AI is there just to distract you. I think that really this is a PvP game.
Yeah.
And that's different to, again, for example, that is different to Arc Raiders, right? Where Arc Raiders, I think, has some quite heavy PvE elements to it, to the point where it would benefit from a PvE only mode. With Marathon, it's balanced to push you towards PvP. And I don't have a problem with that if you could get the right amount of loot on the maps, or if the free kits were better. Because the issue you have right now is people will carry their loot, they'll bring their good stuff, and yeah, guns are well balanced and all that kind of thing. One issue that gunfights have is the time to kill is so quick that if somebody sees you like 2 seconds before you see them, by the time, unless you can get into cover, by the time you turn around and react, they've probably downed you. And that's kind of an issue. So like the time to kill is so fast that, yes, it makes gunfights excuse me, it makes gunfights thrilling, right? But what it does mean is, if you're ever in a situation where you see someone first or they see you first, especially by a decent margin of time, whoever sees who first and whoever shoots first is more likely by a considerable margin to win that gunfight. And that affects the balancing somewhat. What I would say, what I really do enjoy about the game is, unlike Arc Raiders, you have a timer for when to get out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if that timer hits 0, it doesn't immediately kick you out of the map. It goes,
yeah, you get like a minute left or something extra.
Yeah, so it goes last chance to extract, and it gives you another minute to get to an extract point, call it in, and extract. I really like that. And the other thing that I like is that you can extract while downed. So let's say you're at the extraction point and you go down in the process of extracting. As long as you're not fully downed all the way, like dead, you can still extract. You can extract while bleeding out effectively. The other part of the game that I like is, let's say we're playing in a team of 3, right?
Yeah.
And 2 of us go completely down, we get killed. If the one survives, if the one person survives, they can actually fully reboot their 2 teammates from a full death. So you can bring your companions back from the dead, which adds this nice sort of tactical element. And it also adds this thing of like, once you're dead, you shouldn't necessarily leave the game straight away, because your team might be able to bring you back, like even when you're fully dead, not just when you're downed. So I do like that element of it. It's something different. Marathon is a game that, as long as other people are playing, I will play the game. But I will never play this game on my own, because I think there are too many balancing issues right now. They are working on some of those, but it's good. Like, I think the most important thing right now is what they got right was the core gameplay. And the core gameplay feels good. And you've got the different classes that you can use in the game. So, for example, I use the assassin, who can throw out like this smoke bomb and also can go invisible, right? And these are abilities that charge up over time. Keith plays as the triage, which is the medic, who can basically get people up without having to actually do the revive thing with one of their skills, and they can also send out healing drones. So there are different classes, so it almost has like a hero shooter element to it as well. There is a bit of that hero shooter vibe where the mix of whatever 3 characters you have in your team really does matter, because they all have their positives and their negatives, right? Like the assassin, I can move quite fast. Because I can go invisible, I can quite easily reposition during a gunfight and things like that. But I will probably get hit quite a bit quicker, for example. There are things that are good about all of these classes, and there's going to be one for you. And there's even a class that is designed solely for solo play. Okay? And it's called the Rook, and you can only use it when you're playing solo. You're not even allowed to use it. You're not even allowed to use it when you're playing in teams. But when you play as solo, it's like, here you go, here's the Rook, and you're limited to certain, like, they don't let you progress certain things while you're playing as the Rook. But the Rook is essentially, you're playing as solo, go out there, have fun, and get into a gunfight with other players. That's effectively what the Rook is. And that is exactly what makes me think that this entire game is designed to push you towards PvP. But that leaves me with the biggest question of, if that's the case, why even have the PvE element to it? You know, like, it almost feels like the PvE element is a bit more like set dressing and actually gets in the way more often than not. Like, Keith had an experience last night when we were playing where he's fighting 2 players. Me and Scott have gone down. Keith's fighting 2 players. He's doing quite well, and he gets shot in the back by a AI turret and dies. And it's like, I get it, but it's one of those things where it just feels like the game is balanced to push you in one direction, but then the design of the game is sometimes at odds with that balancing. So I think they need to adjust that slightly. I'm not sure what the player numbers are like on Marathon now. I know they were quite good when it first launched, so I don't think this is going to be, a Concord or a High Guard situation. But when I look at the achievement percentages on Steam, for example, I currently have killed 147 AI units, right, which are UESC units. Yeah. And I've also killed 14 players. On the AI units killed, only 41% of players have got that achievement. Okay. Mm-hmm. On the rivals killed, only 45%. That's more reasonable. The interesting one is I got an achievement a few days ago for completing 21 runs on the game, right? Yeah. Only 54% of players have that. And this game has been out for a week. And yet only 54% of players have completed 21 runs on the game. Like, that to me says that there's probably a lot of players that played this game for the first day or two and haven't come back to it since. Yeah. I could be wrong, but that's what the achievement percentages suggest right now. Other than Marathon, I've been playing something I can't talk about yet, other than to tell you I've been playing it, which is Crimson Desert, which I will be reviewing over on the outerhaven.net. You can look forward to that on the 18th of March, which is 5 days from the time of recording. I will have both a written and video review, so make sure you check out the Outer Haven YouTube channel and the outerhaven.net for all of that coverage. But other than that, I haven't really been playing anything else I can talk about. So I think that brings us to the end of this episode. Is there anything that we would like to sort of announce or speak about before we finish off here, Jeff? I think there's one thing that we should probably say to people, which is that we have become top critics on OpenCritic. So thank you to the team at OpenCritic for recognizing the quality of our work. And what this effectively means for people who don't know is that when we now review a game, our review score will actually count towards the average score you see on OpenCritic. Because although OpenCritic has a lot of websites on it, only the ones that gain top critic status actually count towards the average score that a game gets on OpenCritic. So it's kind of like, that's like a big seal of approval for us. And, you know, part of the reason we've got that is not only because of our great work and with our PR partners who provide us codes and things like that, but is also because of you, the audience, who come to our website and read our content and watch and listen to the podcast here. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate your support. Obviously, we have reviews coming up, I'm sure, some of which we can't speak about yet. But if you follow us for game reviews, we have more and more coming up, and you should make sure you keep an eye on the website for them.
Before we go, I want to get your live reaction to the thumbnail.
Okay.
Hold on here.
If you send it to me, I will put it up on the screen.
Well, I'm putting it on the Discord right now.
Okay.
It might be one of the best that I've done.
Okay, I have to show this to people. Give me a moment. Give me a moment to save this, and we will show you. I mean, you would have already seen it, but I have to show it for the fact that I'm live reacting to this.
Thumbnail. He's gonna show it.
This is hilarious. Give me one moment, just saving it here, and then I can bring it up into the StreamYard, where we can go share image file and then look for our thumbnails folder. There it is. And episode 1, 2, 3. There it is. And it should come up now. Look at this. We've got CM Punk. We've got the Yeet glasses, the WWE Championship. Oh, God. What a thumbnail. What a thumbnail we've got here. Who knew that CM Punk would be in Pokopia?
I know.
Oh, wow. Well, that's been episode 83 of the Gaming Mix podcast. Thank you for joining us. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. We appreciate if you've stuck with us till the end. As I said before, please make sure that you keep tuned to analogstickgaming.com for upcoming reviews and gaming news and all manner of other things. I know that Jeff's working on a few things right now that he can't talk about, and I'm working on at least one review for us at Analog Stick Gaming that I can't talk about yet.
Mini Shoot Adventures review should be going up today. So
nice. So at the time of you seeing this episode, there should be a new review on the website, and I will probably link it below next to Jeff's latest reviews, which, as a reminder, I always link mine and Jeff's latest reviews in the description of the episode. So if you want to get to those things, you can do that very, very easily. But yeah, for now, we will see you next time. It's a goodbye from me.
See you guys.